Okay, so we're gonna sew using our running stitch. Okay, now I've threaded my needle. I'm using a bit of a thinner thread today, and I've got my knot at the end. Okay, now make sure when you're not using your needle, you put it into your piece of paper with your name on so it doesn't get lost. And if you're stuck on how to thread a needle and tie a knot, have a look at the other video. Right, so I'm going to start with our running stitch. I'm going to start with the middle lines. Now, if you remember how to do a running stitch, I'm going to start from the bottom underneath. Now, these stitches need to be quite close together, okay, as secure as possible. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. Okay, follow your lines. Try not to make your stitches too big. See how I've got 3 so far. Okay, if you just did 2 big ones, they wouldn't be very secure. So the smaller you do them, and the neater you do them, the more secure they will be. So I'm going up and down, up and down, up and down. Make sure you pull your thread through. So I'm coming towards the end of my first line. Now I don't want them to link with each other. So I'm going to tie my knot here. So onto the back. Got plenty of thread left to tie my knot. I'm going to tie my knot. So I'm going to make a loop, pull my needle through, use my left hand to guide the knot down. Now, it's quite a thin thread, so I'll need a few knots to make it secure, so I've got a big enough knot. And then you're going to cut that off close to the knot. Okay, and keep that because I've got plenty of thread left, so I'm going to make another knot and use my leftover thread to make a loop. Take it off, pull it under and pull it through. So a couple of those, so they're nice and big. Okay, I'm trimming as I go, so there's less trimming later. So I'm going to cut after my knot there. Okay, turn it back over and I'm going to do my other line. Coming towards the end, turn it over and tie my knot. A couple of times. Okay, trim that. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough thread for me to do the bottom line here, so I'm just going to take that off and cut some more, because otherwise if I don't have enough, it means that my knot afterwards will be a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to make my loop small and wiggle it in straight through. Bring that end to meet the other end. Got a bit too much there. Okay, and tie my knot again. So lots of knot tying. You'll be very practiced at this by the end of the project. A couple of times to make sure it's big enough. Trim as I go, so I'm going to trim that little bit off. And then I'm just going to sew running stitch again just down this bit here. Going to start at the end. I'm going to make my stitches quite small here because I want these to be very secure feet of the monkey. If you want to make it extra secure, you can double over and do another row on top, but one should be sufficient. Right to the end. Get another little one in there. Okay, and then turn it over and we're going to tie the last knot. Couple of times to make sure it's secure. So our thread is thin. Cut after the knot. And now I'm not using my needle, I don't want it to get lost, so I'm going to put it into my piece of paper. Put it to one side. Now what I'm going to do is very carefully cut along this central line and just after the stitch here. So I'll do this one here first. So make sure you cut on this side of your stitching, not that side, this side of your stitching. Do not cut on the stitching. It's going to cut there. Okay, make a nice hair bubble if you want to recycle. And then I'm going to carefully cut inside the 2 rows of stitching here. Right up to there. You might want to cut just a little opening here. Okay, and this is the hole we're going to use to turn him the right way round. Okay, so you can see now that he's got legs and he can sit up. So we're going to turn him the right way around. So we're going to use this hole that we've made here and turn him the right way around again. So if your stitching is secure, you should have some nice legs there. Okay, and then you're going to use some stuffing from the back to stuff here, stuff the legs, but don't stuff too much here because you'll need to sew him back up.